time, we were kind of thinking that EnVy was going to do it. We kind of have this weird feeling that the team is somehow now at 3-13, ready to turn the corner, so to speak. And this game is really important in the sense that it may decide some of the future teams in the North American LCS. So props to you who was listening about the important game when the match for second is going on between Cloud9 and Phoenix.
Not important at all.
This is what matters.
Certainly is. Hakuho there as we are into the draft, banning out Rumble, Caitlyn, and Elise as their three. Graves, Camille, and Rengar answered for EnVy. So a ton of junglers taken away as Lulu will be the first pick there for Hakuho. It's just risen as arguably the best first pick.
Yeah, especially in North America. I think it is slightly isolated here. Also, we are on patch 7.5 as well. So I believe the polymorph is still persisting through Mercury Treads reduction, so it's a little bit more OP than it would be on this patch compared to next patch, which is be 7.6 for the playoffs.
Well, EnVy answer with Varus as their first one, and we'll see if LirA just fancies taking a strong jungler. He does. Lee Sin for him has been a standout champion, and with a ton of junglers already banned away, I think EnVy are happy with how this has started. Yeah,
and I think Fox is going to be relatively okay with it as well, since the Kha'Zix, while receiving nerfs, is still a pretty standard champion. So despite all of the jungle bans, still a relatively normal jungle picks, and once again, we get to see Keith on Ashe.
Yeah, it's been the mainstay for him, so we'll see two different arrow-based marksmen, excuse me, go against each other here. EnVy though with a final pick. Looks like they'll keep it simple on Seraph. Actually going to tanks. He's played a lot of Rumble. He tends to prefer his carry champions, but a straight-up tank here for this game.
Yeah, and Pastrytime, we are cruising through this phase. These guys had very little hesitation on any of their choices. As you mentioned, though, a role mismatch in the draft phase here. No support technically picked for EnVy yet, although Nautilus has the chance of flexing down to that side, and therefore no top laner for EchoFox, which is why we see ban phase 2, first ban Renekton.
And it feels like preparation has been pretty well done here by both these teams. EnVy's recent drafts have been lightning fast. They're clearly just saying, we have a plan, we're going to stick to it if you give us that draft, and then try and execute every single time. So I think EnVy, they kind of understand their strengths. They're trying to play to them here. Victor is going to be their second ban, so not continuing to pick on the top lane, but a Talon ban might have prompted that there, taking away one of Ninja's biggest champions.
Yeah, a little bit, I think. I also believe that EchoFox has really tried to shrink their effective champion pools to recover from the struggles, and Victor is one of those champions for Froggen, who he has been playing a ton of recently. So just trying to disrupt whatever type of suitable practice EchoFox has had is the goal of that Victor ban.
I actually love this last ban as well from EchoFox, taking Zara away from Hakuho. I mean, he might just go to something like Malzahar here, but he's really good on a lot of these mage supports. Hakuho, his champion pool is pretty personal to him, and I think he does prefer to try and do a bit more damage and carry where he can. The metagame has suited that for most of the season, but he's been one of the biggest forces for this team so far. But we'll have to see what his pick is, because Ahri is actually the pick for Ninja. Going to also take that one away from Froggen.
Yeah, and I think EnVy is right now also trying to hide as much of their hand as possible. I mean, stuff like Karma and Malzahar would still be available for support, or Seraph just actually wants to see what is in the top lane, and then he can decide whether he's going Nautilus against it or something more carry-oriented. So I think EnVy really trying to keep their options open here.
Well, if this is the pick, and it is Maokai over for EchoFox, I'm sure Seraph is just fine in the tank battle. Kind of curious to see Maokai still see a decent amount of play. I mean, what he brings to your team in team fights is great, but getting him through the lane phase is a lot trickier than it used to be.
Especially since the sapling nerfs. He really gets outshoved by a Nautilus, and is even a matchup where a lot of people can farm against with carry top laners. So, whoa!
Throwback time for Froggen. That's a Karthus. And if it was... That's too recent. He's played enough of that champion this year.
You know, Froggen is all about the death passives. Having a serious discussion about Karthus, it is something that I know Parth in his AMA on Reddit said if there was one champion that he would like to see come into the meta, he actually said Karthus. And it's a classic champion in the competitive sphere, as we see the Malzahar locked in, meaning that Nautilus is going top lane because it's a good matchup against Maokai. But it offers so much AoE damage, especially in messy fights. And I think it has fallen off in small part due to the versatility of junglers having such gank threat. It actually became kind of hard for Karthus to get through the laning phase and just not die under his turret constantly. But in this case, he feels like he can do it, because it's not like anything about LirA or Ninja champions is specifically like unable to kill Froggen. But I can understand, I guess, why he's doing it, and it does bring several strengths.
It's curious. I mean, not bad with the Lulu either. We've talked about a lot of teams kind of enabling their teammates with the likes of Lulu. Keith has kind of been more on utility duty, which is, I think, why we've seen so many Ashe games. But if you're going to speed up somebody and give them a bit of extra health, Karthus is actually a pretty good candidate as that sort of champion. So we'll see. Froggen has certainly got more than enough experience on a champion like Karthus. I mean, he's been playing this champion alongside the likes of EnVyUs for 5-6 years at this point.
Exactly. I mean, you're talking about two teams that have had trouble closing out games as well. So Froggen is hoping to get to the 40 or 50-minute Karthus point where he's just pressing ultimate and the entire team loses half of their health. Now, I don't think that is as good in this world where you got stuff like Lock-in and Redemption that can just preemptively reset fights before that ultimate comes through, but I'm still excited to see the pick to spice up this game.
I mean, it's certainly cool here for EpicSkillshot. If they need to pick up a win here, might as well throw a curveball or two at Envy. Have to think that mid lane is going to be a pretty juicy looking gank target. Ahri's got excellent gank assist, and LirA, if he gets going in the early game, we've seen what happened. No team is safe from LirA's Lee Sin if he can get things started. So we'll see what happens out here on Summoner's Rift. EpicSkillshot and Envy, an awfully important game towards the bottom of the standings. These two teams, both of them want to come away with a match win to set themselves up for the best position and either force seeding in the promotion tournament or just to stay safe in the one spot that's really left open. Unfortunately for them, only one of these teams can walk away victorious today. And this is EpicSkillshot's last game of the season as well.
Yeah, Envy will still have another one up on Sunday. This is, man.
This is fun.
It's fun. We got the Karthus. It's a throwback as well as still being modern, since we have the support Malzahar thrown into the mix as well. It's going to be tough for Froggen to actually get into these fights. There's the Lee Sin kickback. Nautilus can keep him. You have the Nether Grasp. Like, Karthus generally needed to kind of just walk into fights or flash into fights, but there seems to be so much disengage. I'm very curious to see what Froggen has planned on this Karthus and how he can make it work.
Yeah, I mean, it was his counter pick as well. I can't imagine the lane matchup's going to be favorable. Maybe neutral is the best Froggen is hoping for here, depending on how much assistance he gets from Akaadian. But, I mean, maybe he's just hoping Ninja hasn't, dodged some Skittles in a while.
Yeah, exactly. And that is one thing. You need to kind of be used to the constant fancy feat that Karthus makes you have in lane. Karthus can shove like no other. He also used to be kind of the old school CS Lord. Back when people were racing for the early CS, and they're actually going to steal these.
Oh, that's nice from Apollo. Does actually get a couple, at least one, maybe only one, but is going to kind of put Akaadian's early experience down. But yeah, as soon as you mentioned the CS thing, I saw Froggen move over to the rapid pit. I was like, I've seen this before.
Yeah, there are now 7 CS in the rapid pit, Froggen. 7 more for you.
Maybe that's what it is. He's trying to set a new record, perhaps. We'll have to see, but early lane's looking okay so far. Ninja actually already took quite a lot of damage, so clearly Froggen's accuracy is pretty high.
Yeah, and to catch people up on some of Karthus' mechanics, when his Q hits an isolated target, it actually does double the damage than when it's hitting in an AoE. So when Ninja's positioned away from the minion wave like that, well, he's not allowing Froggen to double up with his mana cost. He will take way more damage if he gets hit.
Yeah, you can see LirA already off for a visit, just trying to pressure the Karthus, but Q's going to miss. Froggen already back towards his turret. That ward is actually not in vision of the turret, so good placement there from LirA, but I kind of expected an early attempt, and Froggen pretty deftly dodges that first one.
Yeah, LirA successfully executed level 2 gank on Piglet last week, so I can see why he'd want to make that return play, but Froggen just was not cheating to that side, making it pretty ineffectual. But it's a pretty low-cost gank for LirA since they had set Akaadian back with the early invade.
Yep, running already over to the blue buff. Now maybe looking here, actually, will be spotted by a nice hawk shot there from Keith. LirA on the Gromp right now, so not pressuring bot just this second, but could run down there if he feels like there's an opportunity. Looks like Keith and Gate, though, just, again, pushing the wave in. They've got a ward there already, covering the potential blast cone entrance from LirA. I've seen a lot of junglers gank that way with that plant. Even though Gate's taking damage on the other end, this is kind of what you want your Ashe lane to be doing at all times.
Yeah, I mean, you want to be trying to win the early lane, especially when you have the Lulu to get that extra little bits of harass in. They want to kind of deny Hakuho's ability to charge up his shield. Akaadian, though, trying that early gank. Seraph full health.
Yeah, Lupin, not too much health left, but Seraph does have his flash, uses it already, but still gets locked in with a Maokai knocked back with the Arcane Smash, and Seraph is trying to get out of it, but first blood once again off to Akaadian.
Yeah, that looked really easy for Akaadian. LirA's going to try and counter something, but I don't know what he would be able to do into that huge minion wave. excited for some action we're about to see.
Yeah, actually, bottom lane, more action here as Apollo and Hakuho going head-to-head. Gate already exhausted, down, forced to burn the heal out of Keith. Q is nice there from the Varus, but not enough to get the kill. And looks like LirA kind of thought a bit better about doing anything other than catch the wave. So Seraph has TP'd back in, but early gold already over to Echo Fox.
Yeah, and that's exactly the type of start that Akaadian and Looper want. Just a very poorly timed flash by Seraph right here. If he's going to flash, he has to flash to get out of Twisted Advance range. But when you're flashing, as the Twisted Advance hitting you, either you can also wait for it to complete and then flash afterwards, but Seraph does neither of those things, making it really easy for Looper to follow through. And then he was still isolated for Akaadian's Kha'Zix. Not to mention on Nautilus, you can flash and then try and hook the wall for even larger distance. He just did none of those things.
Yeah, LirA not there in time either, so Seraph does go down as the first one. He's got a decent CS lead built up though, so you can kind of see why he was so far forward trying to bully Looper in this lane. Instead, the top laners will return with 2 Dorans apiece, but Seraph's going to be still looking quite vulnerable pre-6 if Akaadian does want to visit the lane again. Ninja and Froggen, though, still after their old tricks. Froggen's actually doing a nice job here in the mid lane also. Ninja pretty consistently getting zoned. Froggen with some small CS lead, but Ninja, I think, is now getting more control back over the lane as he gets points into that queue.
Yeah, absolutely. Ninja, you're not generally going to expect to out-CS a Karthus, but you do try and get the lead by killing him and having kill threat, and that comes in at level 6. I did want to go back to check on Seraph. As you mentioned, he was shoved up. He hadn't spec'd a point into Q yet. He did W2.C, trying to go really greedy with shoving Looper in, and is punished.
Yeah, heavily punished, clearly, as he was first blooded. So that makes sense, but, I mean, the conscious choice you make in your lane means that Akaadian probably provides the opportunity. And that takes it pretty nicely. Froggen still farming away. Level 6 now for the Karthus, so have to think a little bit more about any sort of all-in play you go for. Ninja, though, looking for an all-in onto Froggen. Good flash, but Ninja's going to go under the tower. Ignite's already done. The last little bit's good, and Ninja flashes out to safety.
And that's the
Oh,
thing.
no, it's not that safe.
Done!
All right, that's the ulti, so just a trip.
Well, it was what we were talking about. As far as what you do against a Karthus in lane, you don't look to out-CS him, you look to kill him. But Ninja took just a little bit too much damage inside the turret and got kicked back by Froggen's return kill. That's actually generally fine for Karthus.
Well, Ninja does get himself a Negatron cloak now, so gonna want to be a bit safer. Get into Hakuho. Volley lands though. That's gonna force the flash out of the Malzahar. Apollo gets a few more CS on the wave, but Keith and Gate have been doing a really nice job bullying this lane 2v2 as we'll watch this nice 1v1 kill by Ninja.
Yeah, Froggen already 6 because he has killed more minions, but when Ninja gets level 6 on that minion kill, just jumps through, goes combo, saves. You know, didn't really even have to land all of his spells. The Q didn't get a perfect shot, but because he did go into turret range and Froggen put the ignite on him, it was enough to kill.
Yeah, really nice awareness there from Froggen to get the trade. So pretty much even as we return back in, Froggen with a mild CS lead right now, but again, Karthus is very good at turbo farming. You can see just laying down Qs into the wave. And looks like Rod of Ages will be his first item. It's been a little while since we've seen Karthus, but can't imagine the itemization changes too much.
Yeah, I don't think it will. Because of the blasting wand, most likely Rod of Ages instead of... I thought maybe we would see one of the... Shoot, what's the name of it? The GLP, I believe?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Blue one?
Super Soaker.
Yeah, the Super Soaker that you see often on Aurelion Sol. So, not what we're getting on Froggen this game.
It's like GOP 800 or something, I think is the name of the item. I'm sure we can figure that out later. Not too important right now. What is a little bit better looking for Echo Fox is this gank on the mid lane. Akaadian already EnVyUs gates there as well. Ninja just going to get taken out here. Who's going to get the kill? Froggen collects it.
Yeah, and I mean, this is Echo Fox kind of showing up early game when they need to. If they keep Froggen protected on Karthus, Froggen has had some issues this year of jumping out to really huge leads and then not being able to carry the rest of the game. I personally a lot of times think either his itemization isn't right, where I disagree with the Rapid Fire Cannon Twist of Fate, or he's not building a Void Staff on 6-item Victor and then he can't cut through any tanks, which is one of the things that happened yesterday. But I feel like Karthus is just one of those champions that if you do get ahead and you get something like 10 kills, you're just going to be winning team fights because you're just throwing your face at them and then you're still going to be able to get your damage out regardless.
Yep. Just kind of choosing the most effective champion for a simple situation. As Akaadian gets himself safe over the wall with the Blast Cone. No GLP 800, sir. We were right, it is the name of the item.
Hashtag GLP 800. Yeah. Didn't want to get it wrong. So instead I just pretended I didn't know it and said nothing at all. That's
perfect. Well, Ninja gets the blue buff, so things going okay here in the mid lane, but EchoFox had to a 3-1 kill lead and up about 1,000 gold. Early game's kind of gone as well as they'd want to, and LirA, who's usually very effective in these early stages, has attempted a few ganks here and there, but execution's not quite been there, and Envy gonna have to farm out this game for the next 5 to 10 minutes. Looks like all their lanes currently are a little bit behind, with the exception of Seraph, who did still get punished for his aggressive play in lane.
Yeah, Seraph incredibly greedy, but as we know, still shoving in that lane pretty easily, and now it's going to be even tankier if Akaadian decides to go back up there. But with the Spectre Scowl, I feel like a return gank would still be pretty beneficial for him with how far up Seraph is playing, and because Looper has had flash this whole time as far as being able to close the distance on Twisted Advance, but the ward spots him in the jungle.
Yeah, Akaadian, the early warrior already done, so he's feeling pretty good about himself as far as early power goes. He's going to clear that out. Actually puts control ward in his jungle, taking that yellow ward away from Seraph that he placed fairly recently. LirA again looking around the Drake area, maybe hoping for a wall hop to the bottom lane, but good coverage there as well from EchoFox, and Envy don't quite feel confident enough to start something like that Infernal Drake. So playing pretty subdued here, but not wanting to make too many mistakes and fall behind. I think EchoFox, though, if they're just kind of farming this out, Froggen especially, will be more than happy with this.
Yeah, and I mean, look at the CS lead Keith and Gate have in the bottom side as well. They had a double kill in the laning phase 2v2 in one of their earlier games, so their laning phase has not actually been the problem. It's been about their transition into the middle late game as far as positioning goes. And, you know, Envy is positioning here to try and get a turret type off, but there's no one to dive currently.
Going to try and push this perhaps instead, but...
Oh, LirA got spotted by the minion wave, as did Ninja.
All right, we'll call it off. Like, they're going to have to try and take the turret down instead. Don't think they'll have quite enough damage. Maybe actually as the cannon creep is providing a good amount of assistance, but Keith ready with the arrow. Looks like the team's coming down as well. Akaadian going to find Ninja. Misses the slow from the missile, though. Ninja just going to run himself back with a speed shrine, and Envy still into this turret. Needs a few more hits, but Keith is zoning out Apollo.
Oh, he's got to be careful.
Going to go in for a good chain of corruption on the Keith. Fall in for the Malzahar ulti as the turret goes down. Wild growth there. Hakuho eats the arrow there, but LirA kicks him back and gets the kill.
Yeah, bad idea to stay at the turret. I guess laning phase is over. Time to get picked off because the turret was almost nothing. They had no backup and it was going to be a 3v2 against tons of CC, so Envy pretty easily just chain CC onto Keith to lock up the kill.
Well, Seraph gets back away to the wall, but Envy, good proactive play despite getting spotted for the dive. Do manage to take down the turret. No other conversions as far as objectives go, so that will kind of be the only positive there. Seraph and Looper again still going back at it, but don't think Maokai's in too much trouble. Yeah, Seraph just going to poke him down, and didn't get a chance to talk about it yet, as Froggen does get himself the blue buff. I only just noticed that Keith has a Bilgewater Cutlass, so we've kind of been seeing a lot of hype about Blade of the Ruin King. Blade of the Ruin King at Black Cleaver Ashe, I believe, was one of the builds we've started seeing at least in other parts of the world solo queue, so Keith is at least doing step one here. Yeah,
Korea was doing Blade of the Ruin King, Black Cleaver Ashe, but even when those ADs take it into the LCK, they're still... While they do Blade of the Ruin King, you'll see like a Hurricane next, or you'll still see the Essence Reaver build for the CDR and late game scaling on the crit, but it would absolutely be a thing Keith could do, because I think the build does have some inherent synergy with the Flurry being able to get very quick Blade of the Ruin King procs off, as well as Cleaver stacks.
Well, see how the rest of the build pans out. Apollo, though, also with his Blade of the Ruin King already finished, actually, thanks to that bonus gold he got from the first turret of the game. Hakuho sends some Voidlings out. Looks like Gates back down here, actually missing that control ward, at least for now. Looks like they're calling down Akaadian, which is why they're trying to get a gank started. Arrow is not up yet for Keith. There it is for Apollo, but a good flash gets Varus out of the way.
Yeah, good game of chicken there by Apollo, waiting for the Ashe arrow, knowing he had his flash, and then also not flashing in a straight line away from the arrow. Mistake all too common that we end up seeing.
Yep. Even at the highest levels of play at the most prestigious tournament, well-known players are known to make that mistake. Infernal Drake, though, for EchoFox is going to be their prize, so proactive play at least gets them the objective, and first Drake over to EchoFox. It's a good one. Envy not quite there in time to take that objective, and it's a close one still. I mean, Envy do have taken back the gold lead here, but not by very much, so we thought EchoFox's early game may have gotten them far enough ahead to start snowballing the mid game, but playing a little more passive, scaling into that mid and late game a little harder, and Envy also playing surprisingly calm for a team that we've seen kind of only win when they play incredibly aggressively in the early game.
That is true. They haven't necessarily forced too hard for many of these plays, but they haven't had to. I mean, when an Ashe sits under a turret and you have 3 people there, kill the Ashe. It's not actually a super aggressive play to do so. Meanwhile, the one place you would maybe want to see them attack is the Karthus, but Froggen's with the super early Rod of Ages, really hard to do that.
Yeah, I mean, Froggen is just insta-clearing waves almost at this stage. Ninja going to go ahead and get blue buff number 2 for himself, so should be able to keep up relatively well with the Karthus, but I mean, Froggen does not miss very many CS on average, but certainly not on a champion like Karthus. And I mean, Ninja back to the lane, he's clearing pretty quickly, but Froggen's even better than that.
Yeah, Ninja lost a lot of CS when he made the roam down bottom side because he got pushed off the wave by Akaadian and Froggen, so that is just kind of extending this lead for him.
I feel like there is more of the players we want to see from a champion like Ahri, particularly from a player like Ninja, leaving the lane, trying to help out the side lanes. EnVy at some point want to accelerate the pace of this game a little more. They've kind of started that off here with Apollo transferring to the top lane with Hakuho to try and knock down that turret. Keith is busy with the bottom outer right now, but EnVy are trying to play the map and doing so relatively successfully. I mean, sure, Keith dying in that bottom turret was his mistake, but the initial play from EnVy to siege that turret was the right call.
Yeah, just trying to accelerate the game, make a proactive map play that can give you the first turret objective, which is important. EnVy specializes in that. We talked about they are first in the North American LCS in killing first turrets, and after that game, they moved to over 70% in that category. Now they're still ahead on this turret race.
Yep, make it 2 as they do get the second turret for themselves. Echo Fox finally cleaned the bottom outer, but the push through is coming out. Cannon creep and the wave is relatively big, so 5 cards of creep's going to help out here. Should be more than enough to take this turret, and Echo Fox are quickly losing this race.
Yeah, and with the Ahri coming around the back side, I'm not even sure if Echo Fox can trade this one.
Waves cleared out. There's an ulti out from Seraph as well onto Keith. Akaadian locked down, forced to burn the wild growth onto the Kha'Zix to try and keep him alive. Ninja's going to keep him occupied, actually dives in, but there's Lupa, tries to get the twisted advance down. Polymorph, sorry, onto him as the Froggen ulti is going to try and take him down. Ninja, though, already taking out Keith. He lives through the ulti from Karthus. Seraph takes out Gate as well.
But no one stopped the push on the other side. EnVy's going to take the inhibitor in 16 minutes.
I mean, Froggen's pushing mid lane, but that's not where you want to be. Seraph finally dies as Akaadian gets the double kill, but what a mess of macro. EnVy come out huge on this play.
Oh, no. That is not good. So for all we talk about parity in the NALCS and how some of these teams are able to win, 30 to 40% of their games and how anyone can take a game from anyone else, those are the situations that put you in the bottom of the standings. When you're giving up inhibitor trades, when you're barely getting an outer turret on the other side of the map. Watching this right here, yes, it was a 2.5 before because Froggen said he was probably going to support with his ultimate. Or actually, sorry, that's 5 for Echo Fox, so it's a 2 versus 4.5. The minion wave gets too low, they never finish the turret. Keith and Gate took a bunch of turret damage. I mean, you just can't die in that situation. But secondarily, you have to know when to pull back. And they just did not do so, as even though they pick up a double kill on the backside, losing the inhibitor, not even close to worth it.
Yeah, I mean, Echo Fox get a couple kills. They take that tier 2 turret as well. EnVy, if they'd let Seraph and Ninja just defend that turret, probably would have been the best possible outcome, but still a very good trade for them, all things considered. And now Echo Fox have a real big problem to try and deal with. Froggen, he will clear out the super minions pretty efficiently, given the state of the game, but EnVy have so much control on the rest of the map as a result.
All part of Froggen's master plan. Like, I have to be over here, guys. If no one's going to farm this super minion, you can't blame me for not rotating. I'm just taking this minion wave now. But Karthus actually does kill that wave super fast. So it's not as big of an issue with the Karthus on your team as it would be if they lacked such super wave clear that they get from something like the Karthus.
Well, see how the rest of this plays out, because EnVy are attacking the obvious weakness now in bottom lane. Just trying to take down even more turrets. Looks like mid-outer is still up, so Keith will stay there in the mid lane and farm safely. But again, Echo Fox just have a consistent issue to deal with here, and Froggen does not have teleport despite having a global ultimate, so he can contribute to team fights if he's off separate from his team, but it's just not the same contribution that Seraph will offer. Yeah,
one worry for EnVy when you take an inhibitor this early is if you're not able to gain map pressure advantage out of it and continue to snowball objectives, you are losing gold. The super minion wave, since it is always pushing, basically means that that enemy top lane is never pushing towards you, so you can never get to CS. It's like you're constantly denying yourself that farm. But for the same reason that people don't really freeze lanes anymore, they no longer... for the same reason people don't freeze lanes anymore, teams usually make enough proactive plays on the map to equalize that out.
Yeah, and I think EnVy are the kind of team that are quite good at that, so they're continuing to get that done here, looking to push onto this tier 2 turret in bottom lane. Should be able to take that down for themselves. EnVy continuing to stay proactive, do get their 5th turret of the game. I mean, Froggen, he has pushed the wave up here, but now he has to back off.
Yeah, so still able to transition some of these things into leads. But 2,000 gold, pretty big. It's just a matter of Froggen continuing to keep that farm up.
Again, we'll have to see kind of what EchoFox do in the next 5 to 10 minutes, trying to stop the bleeding. Envy, though, control in the bottom half. Might look to take the Cloud Drake next. Going to move back in as Keith has pushed a wave into this mid lane, but Ninja will be able to handily clear that one out for himself. And again, Seraph back to where he wants to be in top lane, still with his summoner ready to go if he wants to TP into a fight. Another gate is kind of fading up towards this side. I don't think Seraph's in a huge amount of bother. Going to hit the recall button, and again, Envy, if they keep the pace of the game where they want it to be macro-wise, should be able to snowball to a big mid-game lead.
It is quite the mid-game lead at the moment, but still a relatively close game. The early QSS by Apollo, I also have to call into a little bit of question. It's not like they are up against the Malzahar. Maybe just hoping to be able to QSS the Polymorph for the Ashe arrow, but even then, I definitely want to prefer to see a little bit more damage there if they're going to be looking to snowball this to a lead. Yeah.
Kind of indicates that Envy aren't interested in fighting straight up right now, perhaps. Blue buff over to Ninja. We'll turn that around. I guess we'll have to see, but Apollo definitely with a very conservative build here. It looks like the siege mid is going to start for Envy. Hakuho looking for a target. Would love to try and trap somebody down with the ultimate. Oh, looks like fine. Akaadian got greedy. Wild Growth on top of him. He's going to try and leap out of the way. Should be there as the Death Touch will follow him. Ignite. Not enough to take him down. LirA kicks him through. Gets the shot down as he kicks his own teammate through him. Incredible play from LirA as Looper joins back in. Froggen already burnt the ultimate though, and LirA barely dies on the back end to Keith. Envy make it look so fancy and get the trade.
Yeah, it's all that fanciness just leads to a trade. You can see Froggen even from base. That ultimate really hurt. There's no locket or redemption built up yet to neutralize the power of that. And he's second item death cap.
Yep.
You don't see that much often anymore just because the conversion isn't necessarily that efficient. But with all that, it's already sitting at 363 ability power.
Yeah, again, it's an old school build for an old school champion, but Froggen certainly maximizing that flat AP as soon as possible. That farm count is only getting stronger. 40 seeds ahead of his lane opponent as they try and siege a turret. Hakuho flashes and dies to Keith's auto attack. And now Apollo's QSS isn't going to save him. Flash might though as Seraph cues away to a wall, but Keith flashes in aggressively, tries to slow Seraph, who also burns his flash. EchoFox just not letting Envy get to them.
Yeah, I mean, Blade of the Ruined King Ashe there doing more damage than Hakuho expected, but definitely a bunch of errors in this game. These teams going to be stepping over the other one if they eventually want to make it out of the promotion tournament.
Ninja, that shot missed. Keith's going to just keep auto-attacking away, but enough dashes there for Ninja to get out safely. Does conserve the flash in that situation. Top inhibits also respawn, so Froggen's free farming reign may end. But he's got a death cap. He's not feeling too bad. And EchoFox, we said they needed to get out from under the inhib unscathed, and they've kind of relatively done that here. So watch this onto Akaadian, who really just wanted this Raptor.
Yeah, and they don't have the greatest vision control within that jungle, but this was such a fancy kick right here, flashing to kick gate through Akaadian and get the kill. But then, when he flashed, he put himself in such a dangerous situation that he was able to be collapsed on by the rest of EchoFox. And, you know, after all this, Keith is the one picking up some of these kills, and he's turning out to be a pretty strong Ashe.
Yep, does go for Hurricane second as well, so that's kind of where that build is going. No Black Cleaver this time around, but it kind of makes sense given all the strengths that the champion has. Envy going to continue shoving things around. Maybe Baron is on the table as well. They really want the mid-outer, but EchoFox have been pretty persistent with protecting it, which is impressive considering Froggen has not been in that lane. So as far as overall map control goes, despite, again, things looking good for Envy with their inhibitor, they've just not quite done enough with their map lead, and EchoFox have defended well and kind of now gotten the game back to parity.
Yeah, and it's why kind of both of these teams would consider each other good matchups as far as, hey, we could win this one, because neither team is great at snowballing these advantages, and we're seeing exactly that here.
Well, trick again, EchoFox going to start the siege onto this mid lane here. Froggen continuing to push up that blue side of the map, almost level 16 as well, so crazy far ahead as far as experience goes. You can see just how much free time in that top wave with the super minions he's been able to get.
Yeah, and at this state, there are split pushing lanes for Envy right now, so EchoFox want to be able to make a power play in the mid lane. The inhibitor hasn't really been an issue, as we mentioned, because it actually did just power farm Froggen kind of back into this game as Envy wasn't able to make enough proactive decisions. I want to see actually the marksman make some of the plays here with either the Ashe arrow or the Varus ultimate, because there's a lot of rotations going on in this game, and they're kind of forcing each other into tough decisions.
Yep. See if they can get it done here. So Envy still trying to shove around. Double control it actually, just making sure they get extra vision. There's Envy poised for a potential fight here. EchoFox looking to set it up. Good wall from Froggen as Akaadian gets charmed. Q onto the Varus. He's going to keep moving forward, but should be okay for now. Envy just really wanting to take down this outer turret as soon as they can, but wave clear is there between the Lulu Q and the Hurricane bolts from Keith. Not too easy. Ninja also trying to get things started, so Envy continuing to play the map as best they can. Trying to see if that all works out for them. Seraph, though, facing off against Lupa, trying to push that down. And looks at the map to reset again. So LirA chucking down the Raptors. Again, these are definitely teams that do not want to get themselves into too much bother. Playing pretty carefully around these next big objectives. Yeah,
I think we see EchoFox coming in towards the mid lane now to try and make a play if Keith can shoot out the Ashe arrow.
Well, the big thing is kind of these turrets, honestly, is trying to make sure that they keep them up. They know they're very important points as far as objectives go, so wanting to protect them for as long as possible is sort of delaying the game in the center of the map. As it stands, though, team just going to play it safe. Akaadian now going to clear out this Scuttle Crab. We're going to walk our way back to the Baron area as Envy just trying to push as many lanes as possible as far as they can go. Ninja wanting to threaten that top side inhibitor for as many times as he can.
Yeah, and it's now actually an accessible lane to farm, so they don't have to worry as much about Froggen running away with the CS. But when Froggen gets Void Staff, that late game Karthus gets scarier and scarier. So as we keep mentioning, this game a little bit stalled out. I mean, we double Giants build by LirA. Like, what is really happening in this game? We're not entirely sure.
Well, it's finished the Dead Man's Plate now, so things looking a little better for the Lee Sin. But I do think in general, Envy have just delayed this game a little too much for themselves. They had ample opportunity after making those strong early game plays to really attack the map in an obvious spot, but EchoFox just chilled out. Nothing really bad happened to them. Did take advantage of some mistakes that Envy made as well, trying to apply that pressure. And when you kind of play clean pressure, the game's going to delay out. And we kind of joked about it in Chancellor, but maybe Froggen's plan of just scaling up is actually not that bad. That Void Stuff's now finished, and he's level 16. Like, this is a very strong Karthus.
Yeah, I mean, this actually used to be one of the highest possible AP builds back like a year or two ago. But when the death cap got changed, it became a better, third or fourth item. The AP of Void Staff was also reduced. So one of the ways you actually got the max AP builds was with the Rod of Ages and a Seraphs. So Froggen didn't go hyper late game. He didn't go the tier, I think, due to the kill threat. But even now, he's starting to turn on to some pretty ridiculous damage thresholds.
Yeah, I mean, we'll have to see what happens when the next fight breaks out. Maybe Froggen just starts to use the ultimate as a fight starter. That's an old school trick as well. Just poke them all down. But again, these outer turrets are kind of the big points here. Envy defending well here with Apollo and his Hurricane, but Baron threats available. I mean, Nidra is pushing to the top lane, but if he's ever caught out, EchoFox can maybe get kills onto him as well. And it's just kind of funny to watch EchoFox play around a very wide open map. Envy are taking their time trying to split push, but EchoFox know that they've got more than enough time to wait it out and see if Envy make a mistake.
Yeah, and the funniest thing is the side lanes are wide open. The mid turret's still there. Yeah. We're 27 minutes in, Envy's taking 5 turrets, but not the outermost mid lane turret. So a really wacky game as far as the spread. But when we mentioned the mid lane turret being the most important one, it's for a reason. You can have all the side lane pressure you want, but if you can't transition through that mid lane, it's hard to get over overall map pressure.
Nice dodge there from Ninja, using that Spirit Rush to get out from under the Ashe arrow. So Froggen gets himself another blue, now level 17 for the Karthus. Just farming away. Apollo clears out these waves as well. I mean, we've seen these two marksmen in mid lane for at least 10 minutes just shoving waves against each other, but no one wants to commit to maybe a dive or really sieging down the turret. And like you said, without a central point to play around, actually you do just get a lot of topsy-turvy side lane play, which is why 6 to 8 champions have been in mid lane for the last 15 minutes.
Yep, shove a side lane out, repeat. Shove a side lane out, repeat. And again, like, Envy can't go take the inhibitor again if there's a bunch of EchoFox people sitting in the mid lane going for it now. They're trying to do this Karthus Baron rush. He kills it so fast. Yep.
I mean, this Baron almost dead. LirA maybe gets himself in for a steal, but Lupa gonna lock him down instead. That should be the Baron over to EchoFox. Ninja not there in time, and Lupa just tanking the rest of the team out. Chain of Corruption did tag Akaadian, but just not a problem. EchoFox just walk up to Baron and take it. And Hakuho, he's gonna get himself assassinated. Wildur is gonna start things off with the Kha'Zix, trying to rip through them. A little too much, it looks like, as he does go down, but it's a trade. He'll get a kill for his trouble.
Yeah, pretty ambitious play there by Akaadian. If they would have just fainted back, they potentially would have had a stronger push, but they still have 3 people in the mid lane here, and now they've taken out Hakuho, so where's the wave clear? Both of EnVy's side laners were in the side lanes.
Yeah, and that's the issue, because now with the Baron buff, it's a much easier task to try and siege down these turrets. But EchoFox, they've taken 2 already. They're going to TP in and try and bust straight down the middle. Froggen also still has his ultimate, so if a fight starts going wrong, even if Froggen dies, EnVy are going to die very quickly, and Keith just needs a few more autos onto this inhibitor, and that goes down. EchoFox just walk up to Baron, take it, and then that could be it here. Froggen now going to get knocked out by the depth charge, but looks like the charm's going to follow in as well. Froggen still taking damage, but Lupa going to tie up Ninja. Froggen on a killing spree as he takes down the Ahri, and Keith is just firing away. Here comes the ultimate. Apollo loses a huge amount of health as LirA is going to die on the front side. 2 down for EnVy, and EchoFox think about it, but back off in the rest of the push.
Yeah, and some relatively solid team fighting there from EchoFox down the stretch. They have Gate shielding up Keith, and Keith is getting a large amount of damage off in these fights. And then even though Froggen was the focus, since he didn't die, he just fell back and got the ultimate off anyway. The nice thing about Karthus is if he would have died, if he's playing more aggressively, he actually would have flashed forward with Looper there to try and get something like a clean ace, but with Akaadian back, they didn't necessarily want to do that. So recognize that this was a 4v5 fight win for EchoFox, and they still come out on top.
Looking good there. Froggen moves back in, but EchoFox pull out from potentially trying to end the game. Instead, they'll have Baron buff up for a little while longer. And mid inhibitor now shoving supers towards EnVy's base. Going to start on another side where third looks like top lane is the obvious point to go through. Sure, there's a number of turrets to get through here, but want to keep that inhibitor as safe as possible.
Yeah, and I have to call out Hakuho's itemization choices a little bit. While Rally's Crystal Scepter can be good on Malzahar, I feel like in this particular game, you have to do a Locket Redemption at some point. You see other supports in the NALCS like Smoothie do that all the time on Malzahar. But now, when Froggen presses ultimate, there is no recourse for EnVy, and it's simple. He could have built those items and it was there. In this case, LirA is now slowly building up towards a Locket to get 31 minutes in, but a lot of the damage has already been done.
Yeah, I mean, Froggen is level 18, monumentally strong as Seraph. Actually gets tied up by Lupa, might just go down to the damage that they have. Karthus and Ashe able to dish it out, and Lupa just tanking the rest of them. Seed's going to start. Lupa's just going to chase in onto LirA as EchoFox reset with the redemption there from Gate. Turret's going to fall, and EchoFox 40 seconds to push with the Baron buff still.
Yeah, very poor initiation by Seraph, but they have a lot of ultimates.
Great arrow onto Ninja. That's an easy one for Akaadian. And now Hakuho going to get burnt down by Froggen as he tries to ult the Karthus. But EchoFox, they've just kind of powered up. They got all the coal into the engine and the steam trade's rolling forward.
Yep, Karthus just flashed in range of E and Hakuho just died to it, it felt like. By the way, they're full-time minion defenders. This is easily second inhibitor down for EchoFox.
Yep, top's going to fall in pretty short order. And they might even push through to try and do damage to the Nexus turret. Ninja dead for 25 seconds. Hakuho up in about 15. So this turret at least under attack, and this is the healthy turret of the two. Akaadian leaps back in. There's Froggen with the ultimate, going to try and seal the deal on the team fight. Akaadian wild growth in, but Lupa gets kicked in by LirA and falls down to Apollo. Seraph's GA going to get burnt down as well, but that turret's going to fall. Second Nexus turret down as well. EchoFox, do they go for the Nexus? Seraph's the next target. He does fall to Keith. Keith is just unleashing on the Ashe here, and that's going to force LirA away. So now onto the Nexus they go. Ninja going to try and save the game for a little while longer. There's the shutdown as he gets one. Keith still kiting, but Ninja cleans up a triple kill, and EnVy hold onto their Nexus.
Oh, by the hair on their chinny chin chin, just barely holding on. Ninja comes in for a triple kill, and you know, this game couldn't end any other way. EchoFox can't just end it cleanly. I have to mention the damage coming out from Keith with the Blade of the Ruined King Hurricane as well as the picks is massive. I feel like he's doing a large portion of EchoFox's damage in these fights, and the Baron buff had also just run out here, but the minion wave wasn't focused down, so it wasn't a huge issue. Looper goes down, there's no GA yet because so many people itemized QSS against the Malzahar, who was dead in this fight. But then just watch Keith just hitting him down again and again and again, but it's all about whether or not Ninja's going to be able to respawn and tracking those death timers. EchoFox could have pulled back right here, right before Ninja spawned and probably been all right, but when they didn't, they just had nothing left to deal with Ninja flying in.
Fortunately for Karthus, I think he's out of range, but can't auto-attack anyway in passive form. Otherwise, the Nexus may have met one of the funnier demises of the season. As it stands, though, still almost 8,500 gold worth of Baron power play for EnVyUs. I'm sure that's the largest one we've had all year.
Those things are like 3,000 most of the time, but then you think back to what happened, it was Baron, and they started that push at the outer top lane turret and took it all the way to a 75% health Nexus. So, I mean, that's what you do if you have a massive Baron power play. Now, Zonya's completed on Froggen. If he just walks towards the Nexus and presses it, Envy may be forced enough to scatter away. EchoFox does not want to hesitate with this one.
Yeah, they're not. They're just going to walk it straight down mid. Ninja actually late. Now finally completes the recall. Mid inhibitor's going to respawn, but bad news is top inhibitor just fell down, so Envy going to have to fight for this Nexus one more time.
And 9,600 apparently was the biggest Baron power play we've had this split.
All right.
Froggen, though, if he dies before he can get range.
That's the kill. Ninja with a snipe. Pops his Zonya's down as well, but here's the ultimate out from Karthus. Apollo is going to go down. So much AoE from the Karthus, and Keith is just too strong to finish out the rest of the team fight. EchoFox going to collect their kills, pat some of their stats like Akaadian grabs the shutdown, but game number one goes all EchoFox.
Ah, yeah, that's what the Fed Karthus does. Now we remember, even though Froggen gets picked off at the start of that game, he just makes the resets easy for Akaadian, and we said this is a must-win for both of these teams, especially after Team Liquid's upset against TSM, and EchoFox converts the first one.
And Envy, it just feels like so many good things were set up for them in that mid game. EchoFox made a huge blunder giving away that inhibitor as early as they did, but we kind of saw it in their early game, and it definitely showed there in their mid game. Envy, they're playing them up a lot smarter, but it is hurting their playmaking. No one is doing anything, it feels like, unless they're absolutely sure it's going to work.
Yeah, and it's been the problem all split. It is what Envy has to solve. If they don't solve it here, they're going to have to solve it in the promotion tournament and moving into next year. And it is really a unique issue because we almost never see teams that are this reliably good at getting leads and then this reliably bad at closing them. It's such a strange pair of traits to have for a team. Like, I don't think we've ever had a team lead the league in first turret kills and finish last in almost any league. I would be super surprised to see that stat, yet that's where Envy finds themselves.
Certainly is, and I believe we are going to take a look at that last team fight once again, just to give Froggen's Karthus a little bit more time to shine. Not just yet, we'll have it good up in a second, but I mean, EchoFox, they kind of stuck to their plan, farm it up, just play the game that they know how to play. Sure, Froggen's got a bit of an offbeat champion, but he would have scaled just as well and potentially won us hard on something like Victor. So we'll see what Karthus gets done here as we take a look at this replay.
Yeah, I mean, this is the fight where Froggen pretty much just has his ultimate, right? He doesn't even get his E on. It comes on automatically when he dies, and then the ultimate just hits. And everyone goes to half health as Looper was already flying in there. So Keith, with Gates' assistance, was, I feel like, the best Ashe game we have seen Keith have in his last dozen.
He has played a lot.
It is a good sign for EchoFox because they need to win this game.
Certainly is looking good. Game one goes over to them, but we are going to throw it over to the analysts to see what they can make of that EchoFox win.
Thank you very much, Pastrytime. EchoFox with the Game 1 win over Envy. Both of these teams still fighting for positioning in the standings and hoping to avoid the promotion tournament. So there's a good step forward for EchoFox. Let's look at how they did it. Karthus.
Yeah, Karthus. I mean, you saw even in that last highlight team fight, if the Karthus dies early in a team fight, great. Because normally you're worried about if Froggen dies, how do we win a team fight?
Exactly.
Well, now on Karthus, it doesn't matter.
I like it. You want to, it's a champ that likes to go 6 items, is useful from the grave, and even useful globally. And we saw that come through multiple times. His ability to kind of hold that super minion wave for quite some time, but still aid with his ultimate for any team fights or skirmishes that might break out.
Right, and it's funny you see him go with the Ignite as well. Froggen was a person who was pretty adamant back in the day when Karthus was a little more meta that he beat LeBlanc and he beat a lot of these assassin matchups if you play it correctly. And we saw when Ahri did go aggressive in that mid lane that one time, he traded 1-for-1, and that's great for Karthus. You don't care that much as long as you don't die when the ultimate comes back available, your flash is down this time. But he didn't die again. They were able to turn another kill. So a lot of this early game did kind of hinge on Froggen.
That said, let's go ahead and take a look at some of the early action that took place in this game before EchoFox was able to get control of the match. At 15 minutes into the game, we have cross-map advantages created for Envy. This is a 4v2 mark.
I mean, this is why it's so good to have your tank try and hold underneath the turret. He's able to absorb a lot of pressure. Ninja actually does get a lot of really good damage in here with that Orb of Deception getting across multiple members of the enemy team there. The ultimate by Froggen coming in is not actually enough. And then here, Envy just needs to back off. You won. You protected your turret. You killed multiple members. Your team's grabbing an inhibitor. Instead, they try and chase down. They get greedy. They hand these 2 kills back. And eventually, that minion wave makes its way up there. And they're able to grab that inner turret. On the flip side of the map, this whole time, your other 2 members have been pushed, or 3 members have been pushing down.
Yep.
So if you win on your weak side, never get greedy.
Right.
You should almost never get greedy with the weak side people being able to come out ahead. So
right. Well, that was still a win overall for Envy in that situation. Could have been so much greater, and perhaps have resulted in an entirely different game outcome had those 2 kills not gone over and they actually be able to push that advantage more.
For sure. I mean, you can basically look at that as about a 2,000 gold swing by, instead of just backing off there, you hand them over 1,000 gold back to the enemy team. So huge mistake there on the side of Envy. And after that play, they really did seem to stall out in finding things to do. And it wasn't until around 28 minutes, I think, when Echo Fox decided to just force Baron. They have an extremely fast Baron team, and they grabbed it before Envy could react. And then after that, the game was pretty much over because you don't win 5v5s.
And I got to give Echo Fox some credit for that call, because where they have been, in the face of so much criticism for inaction in the past, right? Just the fact that they don't make decisions or force plays to happen. In this game, they make a very clear call for the Baron. Looper intelligently goes over the wall to make sure that the Smite Steal can't come through, and they secure it. And ultimately, that accelerated the game quite a bit. You heard them talking about it. Biggest power play, Baron power play of the split, 9.6K in favor of Echo Fox, makes it very easy to close out.
Right. I mean, it's crazy when you see that the other team has a Karthus and an Ashe, and they're able to get that kind of double basically Baron buff just crushing down all these turrets, and then you're not going to beat that team fight, like we said, late game. And you see, even though they kill Karthus at the end of at the very beginning of a team fight in that last replay that they showed, it was still not nearly enough. There was so much damage coming from the other members of Echo Fox, and the Karthus ultimate's always going to come in over the top.
Player of the game going to Froggen. I mean, you said it best. In the past, we've looked at them and said, well, if he dies in a fight, how does Echo Fox win the game? Pulling out the Karthus this time around, again, he's challenging the meta. He's finding his own way to be useful, as he has in the past with Anivia when no one else was playing it. And I love to see that out of players who just who are willing to, kind of refuse to conform to the meta because they know what plays to their strengths more.
Especially, it does depend on the meta itself a little bit, because we're not in a particularly like, oh my god, you need to ban all this stuff meta. There's not these 3 OP mid laners of, last summer when we were talking about it, when it was Vlad, Azir, Ryze, you had to play those 3 champions. Exactly. There's no really mid lane pool like that. And so Froggen has the freedom to take the Karthus and can actually take over a game with it when, no one else is playing it in the world pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. And then on the flip side here for Envy, I think you also have a singular player that you look at as kind of the linchpin for how they win, and that's LirA. And here, again, I felt like he was doing so much work. I mean, we could have built a highlight reel for him even in that loss for some of the individual plays that he made, but he just can't solo carry this team to victory.
Right. I mean, you see that one macro mistake of mispositioning around the Baron buff. Before that, like we said, they weren't totally out of it. Right. Not able to get in range in time, and Looper makes a good call to flash over the wall and root him up. And as long as they stop LirA from making the play and stealing that Baron buff, there's nothing that they can do. And there's too many situations like that where, like, in order for LirA to be the guy who wins them the game, so many things have to go right.
Exactly. I feel like he has to do more than just get small advantages, right? There's like a threshold, I feel, that he has to reach within 20 minutes of the game in terms of gaining advantages for his team to actually come away with the victory. And so if we look at game 2 and Envy's attempt to run it back here 2 games in a row, how do you approach this? Because you gave him a really high priority playmaker in Lee Sin, a champion that he's so proficient on, people should be afraid of it, and yet it still doesn't net a victory. Do you have to make changes elsewhere to make the execution of this comp simpler?
It's hard to say, because it really does feel like their soul laners need certain things to get their job done where they can't perform on most picks. So literally Talon and Jace for Ninja are like 2 things that he's much better on than almost anything else you see, and they need to find a way to get him one of those 2. In this example, maybe they could have gotten the Jace. I believe was left open. The Talon was taken away, obviously, because it's a stronger champion right now. And maybe they need to find something like that, just like a high damage team comp. Let LirA go and get you leads on these strong carries that they should be comfortable playing, and then hopefully you can start kind of winning these mid to late situations that Envy seems to always come out behind on.
Right, on the blue side too, so we know they're going to be playing into a counter pick. We'll see how they fare here in game 2. We got more of this series coming up after the break, so stick around to see if Echo Fox can close it out or if Team Envy can take us to game 3.
Try to back out.
Okay.
Just looking close.
It's fine.
Maokai, fun. Go Ahri.
Yeah. Sorry. I'm on Ahri. Okay, nice. We can win. I
will ulti. Go on Varus if you can.
Listen.
Can we kill more? Yep. Can we end the game?